Markets and Humanoids channel. Accountant with designations CPA, MBA, CMA, ACPA, ASA, Australia. Enjoy learning!
Okay, so good morning class and welcome to your financial market class. Today we'll discuss about the financial intermediaries and also financial regulations later on. So on financial intermediaries, remember during the introduction, I've discussed with you the two methods of flow of funds. No, so there's direct, so meaning from lender to borrower. And then there's indirect through financial intermediaries. No? So today we'll cover more of this. Okay, so today we'll cover more on financial intermediaries and their role in the financial market. So financial intermediaries were formed during the time when market conditions make it hard for lenders of funds to transact directly with borrowers of funds. So there's financial intermediation um, during the indirect financing where financial intermediaries are being used as main routes to transfer funds from lenders to borrowers. So what are the benefits of financial intermediaries? Number one, acceleration of flow of funds. Now imagine one person can simply accumulate all his money and just put it under his bed, no? So then here comes financial intermediaries offering him interest income, no? So deposit mo sa akin yung money mo, then I'll pay you this much interest, no? So there's a acceleration of flow of funds in such a way that instead of just simply putting all his money inside his uh, sabi nga under his bed, with the use of financial intermediaries, then uh, that money can be can flow in circulation, no, within the financial market, no? Efficient allocation of funds, no? So in terms of the efficiency in allocating funds, no, there's this concept called asymmetry or asymmetry in information. So paano 'yon, class, 'di ba? Remember pag sinabi nating symmetry, so there are two parts, two sides that are the same, no? So incorporating that idea in information. So pag sinabi nating asymmetrical information, meaning the other party, so there are two parties, the other party may not be uh, informed of different or relevant information. So therefore, there's asymmetrical, no? So hindi balanse kasi possible na yung isang party, there are information that he's withholding from the other party. Now, how financial intermediaries uh, put efficiency in allocating funds? Of course, dahil nga merong symmetrical information, then there are also adverse effect to that, no? So like for example, there's so-called adverse selection, no? So paano 'yun? Imagine one person na talagang very aggressively looking for funds, siya 'di ba talaga yung tumatawag ng bank, nag-a-apply ng loan, no? And these individuals, they're also prone to default, no? So ito yung mga hindi nakakabayad, no? Imagine from the point of view, kung hindi ka financial intermediary, so point of view of individual ka lang, no? Kung wala kang information about that person, basta ka nalang magpapautang, no? With the introduction of financial intermediaries, especially banks na lang, no? They have very stringent process, no, to check your credit ratings, background check, no ba? Tatawag pa dun sa mga references na nilagay mo, no? So just to protect also their investment, no? So that's how financial intermediaries work in putting, say, efficiency in terms of allocating funds, no? Also, there's this moral hazard. Ano naman yung moral hazard? It occurs when borrowers have the tendency to take undesirable or immoral risks with the money once they receive it, not disclosed, and this information aren't disclosed during the loan application process. So paano naman yan, class? Imagine, no? Sabihin na lang natin si Piolo nangailangan ng pera. Si Piolo nagpapautang ng pera. Hindi niya kakilala. Nandito si mag-isip lang ako ng pangalan. O si Sam na lang. Hindi to si Sam Milby kasi kung si Sam Milby kilala na Piolo yan. No? So kung si Piolo magpapautang kay Sam, ito pa lang si Sam involved in criminal activities, no? Of course, yung funds na pinautang ni Piolo kay Sam, once Sam sabihin na natin na nahuli or nakulong, no? So there's a possibility, of course, no? There's really high possibility na hindi na makakabayad si Sam, no? So of course, hindi naman yun, yung mga informations like that isn't available during sasabihin ba ni Sam pag mangutang siya kay Piolo, o Piolo, pautang ako kasi gagamitin ko yung pambili ng droga. So walang ganun, plus, no? So that's moral hazard. Again, with banks, they have system to check on your paying capacity, to check on your to check background, your background, no? In fact, these financial intermediaries, they hire third party to do those checking, no? And there's also drug testing, no? Lalo na kung very critical yung nire-require, no? Kasi even there's also capitalization required kung business ka, and also salary requirement, no? So hindi ganun kabilis manghiram, no, with financial intermediaries, especially banks. Support price discovery. So price discovery is a process of setting a price which is acceptable for the buyer and the seller. So they play the role as expert and facilitators to enable to assign values to financial instruments based on different factors. No? So imagine, class, without financial intermediaries, paano natin lalagyan ng value yung mga financial instruments natin? So that's also one of the benefits, no, of having financial intermediaries. Improve liquidity. So of course, through financial intermediaries, you can borrow funds, no, to support your operations, and that in turn will improve liquidity. Reduce price risk for lenders. No? So price risk means that prices of financial instruments may vary over time. So financial intermediaries offer very low financial products such as deposits to ultimate lenders, and at the same time offers financial products with high price risk such as shares, bonds, and property financing to borrowers. So paano to? When we say reduce price risk for lenders, kasi there are, say, investors who are risk averse, no? So of course, those investors who are risk averse, they're only going to invest in, sabi natin, na less risky projects. So through financial intermediaries, they can do that, no? And next is diversification. Diversification, well, simply, ito yung palagi ko sinasabi, do not put all your eggs in one basket, no? Kasi nga there might be a time that say you're only investing in one particular industry, and what if come tomorrow government starts to put stricter rule over that industry. So paano mangyayari sa'yo doon? Kung doon ka lang sa industry na yon, tapos biglang naging highly regulated industry yan. So tendency is, of course, for the value of those investments to go down. No? Economies of scale. So in economic terms, basically this is just to absorb, no? So there's volume, of course, there's cost. Sabi natin, 'di ba? Yung relationship niyan is kung mataas yung cost mo at mataas din yung volume mo, tendencies liliit yung cost mo per volume kasi nga mas marami kayong maghahati-hati, no, doon sa total fixed cost, no. And of course, payment system, this is really important, and it's in having financial intermediaries, and nagiging mas efficient na nga yung mga payment system natin, no. So imagine just like paying your electricity bills, no, through banks. So hindi ka na kailangan lumabas pa, and since the payment platforms or payment system applications of these financial intermediaries are really sophisticated, and some of them are equipped with really security, no. So hindi ka basta pwede mag-login ng basta-basta. Yun nga lang, may mga phishing na ngayon, no. So but that's another story. Okay, so risk mitigation in terms of managing your risk, and then implementation of monetary policy. Now, maturity intermediation. So paano naman ang maturity intermediation? So financial intermediaries can offer you longer payment terms, no? So say for example, a loan is about to mature, no? You can renew the loan, and then negotiate for longer term. Risk reduction through diversification. I think it's also a concept of diversification, no. So when you employ the services of financial intermediaries, especially yung mga tinatawag nating asset management firm, they will manage your investments, no. So lalo na kung halimbawa ikaw very busy person, no, that you can't really go study stocks, no, or the fundamentals of stocks, then you can hire financial intermediaries to do those research for you, of course in exchange for a fee, no. And sometimes hindi lang basta fee yun na sometimes it's based on the performance of the stocks or of the securities, and also most of the time it's based on a certain percentage of your um, total fund, no. Okay, so cost reduction for contracting and information processing. So information processing cost refers to the cost of acquiring and processing information needed to evaluate purchase or subsequent sale of a financial instrument. Now, when we're talking of contracting costs, it refers to the cost incurred for writing loan agreements and enforcing terms of agreements to the concerned parties, or simply, that's kaya sinasabi dyan cost reduction kasi nga they're highly qualified people, or financial intermediaries hired highly qualified people to do this for you, and and parang ano rin to concept of economies of scale, no. And because usually it's templated na no. So meron ng template. All you have to do is to cater it based on your needs, no. So that's how important financial intermediaries. Classification of financial intermediaries. So ano to? Yun, palagi natin pinag-uusapan kanina, banks, no? So depository institutions. So these are the firms that accept cash deposits from individuals, companies, and entities. Now there are three basic types of depository institutions. Number one, commercial banks. Commercial banks, generally, these are banks catering for different type of needs, no? So whether it be savings or investments. Now thrift banks, ito usually yung mga rural banks, no, that we have in the provinces, and usually these banks cater for lower income group, no. So ito yung parang they sustain their operation from also small savings, no, from the community itself, and then they offer loans for the lower income group for a longer period of time, no. Savings bank, of course, pag sinabi natin ng savings bank, usually the task of this is to accumulate funds and reinvest it, no. Now there are four types of deposit accounts, no. Demand deposit, usually pag sinabi natin demand deposit, deposits that can be withdrawn upon demand, no? So through checks, ito yung mga checking accounts natin, no? 'Di ba, madalas nakarinig ka, you're issuing a PDC. So PDC kasi nga it's post dated, kaya sinasabi nating demand deposit, you can only withdraw it from upon reaching the date, no, as you have stated in the check. Savings deposit, alam niyo na yan. Ito yung, regular savings deposit. You can withdraw anytime, no? Money market demand account naman, usually there's just pag sinabi nating money market, you can also withdraw, but within a short, there's a term, no? Usually 3 months, no? or less. Time deposits, usually these have fixed maturity, and depositors may earn interest at a fixed or floating interest rate, no? Pag sinabi naman natin class na floating interest rate, these are based on benchmark, no? Benchmark like we have, ito yung I think one of the famous benchmark on interest that we have is the so-called LIBOR, no? Or the London Interbank offered rate, no? So basically, class, these are institutions looking into different economic situations, economic conditions, and even uh, uh, other factors affecting the interest rates, no? So time deposits, sabi natin, it can be fixed interest rate, or it can also be based on floating interest rates. Okay, so ito, I just got a copy or screenshot of the different universal banks or commercial banks that we have. So ito yung mga top banks natin in the Philippines. And in fact, I got this screenshot from Call Financial. Call Financial serves as a broker, no? So it's also a financial intermediary, because as you know, you can't really go buy directly from the Philippine Stock Exchange. You have to go through a financial intermediary, no? So in my case, I have Call Financials as the financial intermediary, no, in my stocks investment, no? So the good thing about employing the services of Call Financial is that they have call rating, no? Paano tong call rating? So sasabihin niya whether you buy or you hold a certain stock, no? So for example, BDO. So at 112, no, this is very recent, October 22, sinasabi ni Call, you have to buy. Paano ba ang nagiging basis of the decision? O ito pala. So sabi diyan, buy stocks that have a buy rating have attractive fundamentals and valuations. Based on our analysis, we expect the share price to outperform the market in the next 6 to 12 months. No? So yun pala ang ibig sabihin pag may buy rating. Hold rating have either attractive fundamentals but expensive valuations, or attractive valuations but near-term earnings outlook might be poor or vulnerable to numerous risks. When it's a sell rating, we dislike both the valuations and fundamentals of stocks with a sell rating. So balikan natin yung ito na lang, sa telecommunications. So sabi dyan, PLDT, sabi buy. So meaning to say, Call Financial provides a buy rating for PLDT. So meaning they are advising you to buy, because ito na nga, sabi, it has an attractive fundamentals. Pag sinabi kasi natin class na fundamentals, in stock point of view, okay yung financial statements, and also other factors, no, that can contribute to increase or decrease of the share price. So not just financials, no? It's a combination of qualitative and quantitative factors. Okay, so what are now the other classifications of financial intermediaries? No, so number one, we have the depository institutions, so banks, simply. Also, we have insurance companies. No, I'm sure. I hope, no, I hope at this stage you're already exposed with this type of investment. Kasi I'm sure may mga friends kayo na at palagi ang biruan is open-minded ka ba, no? Kasi one thing you know, they're reconnecting with you, and the next thing is sending you a message if you already have insurance policies, no? Pero I mean, it's okay, no? At least there you have people trying to offer you these types of investments naman, no? Insurance companies offer a unique service to assume risk or become underwriter of the risk associated with various insurable occurrences, no? So paano yan? Um, well, ito yung famous, no, life insurance. Of course, when the insured person, sabihin natin na insured person namatay, o yun, dun mo makukuha yung proceeds of a life insurance, no? And of course, especially at this stage, no, hindi na lang life insurance ang available, no? So sometimes or most of the time at this stage, meron na yung mga policies that can offer you multiple insurance, no? So pwedeng life insurance with investment. Pwede namang health insurance and life insurance, no? So paano 'yon? Combination, no? So kung namatay ka, may proceeds ka. Kung nagkasakit ka, you can use it will be covered, no, yung mga medical expenses mo, no, by the policy. Property and casualty insurance, ito ang napansin ko lang, no, as you grow older, mas dumarami pala yung mga insurance policies na meron ka. Kasi una, syempre, pag mag-start ka, simulan mo sa life insurance. Tumatanda ka na, kailangan mo na ng health insurance kasi nagkakaroon ka na ng sakit, no? And of course, no, dahil tumatanda ka, nag-i-invest ka to property, kukuha ka ng house and lot, kukuha ka ng condo, kukuha ka ng kotse. And there's property and casualty insurance, no? There's fire insurance. Hindi ka naman pwedeng kumuha ng, especially if it's mortgage with the bank, no? Yearly you have to renew your fire insurance. Kung sa bank, kung meron ka namang kotse, dapat meron kang comprehensive car or motor vehicle insurance, no? There's also liability insurance. Paano naman tong liability insurance? If the insured party gets involved in a litigation resulting from his or others' actions, then there's also disability insurance. Well, when you knock on wood, no, but when the insured party gets or becomes disabled, no, then there's long-term care insurance. If they are no longer able to take care of themselves, no, so ito na yung mga retirement age na to, no. Structured settlements naman, ito yung fixed guaranteed periodic payments are given over long. Basically, class, pag structured settlements, ito yung you have to restructure a loan and then split it, no, in a longer period of time, no? And financial guarantees, basically these are used to manage credit risk, no? Issuer of sabi natin bond, no, fails to pay principal and interest, then the financial guarantee insurance gets into play. Okay. Next classification is the investment intermediaries, no? So these are organizations whose objective is to maximize return from investments in various financial instruments to add value for the investor, no? So we have the so-called asset management firm. Ano ba ang trabaho ng asset management firm? Well, right now, usually this asset management firm, ito na yung mga subsidiary na rin ng bangko, no? So like for example, BDO, they have asset management firm, also BPI, no? Now, they cater for regulated investment companies, exchange traded funds, hedge funds, and separately managed accounts. Ano-ano ba to? Pag-usapan natin isa-isa. Una, itong regulated investment companies, these are pag sinabi kasi natin regulated investment companies, These have varying investment objectives and can engage in trading in different asset classes, no? Whether money market funds, stock funds, or bond funds. Okay. Now, exchange traded funds, these are like mutual funds. No? Paano ba nag-work ang mutual fund? No? So, instead of you going through sabi natin call financial, no? And then you buy different stocks, punta ka lang ng mutual funds. Paano ba ang role ng mutual funds? Ito yung mga um, sabi natin pool of funds being invested in multiple stocks, no? So, parang paano ba explain? Parang so for example, mutual fund A. Mutual fund A will have um, investments in Jollibee Food Corporation, in GMA, in DMCI, in SMDC, no? All I mean, a whole lot of diversified pool of stocks, no? So an asset management firm also caters for exchange traded funds, no? Then we have hedge funds. Paano naman ang hedge funds? They are usually organized as private investment partnership or offshore investment corporation which uses various trading strategies to gain better position in different markets. Now, simply, pag sinabi nating hedge funds, this is not only limited to the Philippine market. And then there's separately managed accounts. Ito na for usually for VIPs or institutional investor. Pag sinabi naman natin institutional investor, it could be a pension fund, it could be an insurance company, no? Or basta mga corporate entity engaged in also in investing. All right. Okay. So these are the list of available mutual funds in call financials, no? So in fact, class, itong Atram, this is also available in GCash, no? I'm sure you have used GCash, no? In GCash, there's a menu there for investment, no? So you can invest a certain amount of money. At makikita mo, no? Usually kasi pag mutual fund, ang palaging nakikita rito is there's really an increase, no? Kasi imagine you're not confined with just one stock, no? It's really either diversify pool of securities. Okay. Then there's investment banks, no? But usually, class, commercial banks, they also function as investment banks, and that's why we call them universal banks. These are highly leveraged institutions that have significant influence on how primary and secondary market works, no? So pag sinabi naman natin primary market, this is IPO, initial public offering, and secondary market, these are already ito na yung say for the instance of stocks, ito yung sa Philippine Stock Exchange, no? So what are the functions or the services offered by investment banks? Una, public offering of securities. So ito yung like for example, RCBC, I received notification from them when Mond Nisin went public, no? So they arranged initial public offering for Mond Nisin. If I'm not mistaken, it was RCBC, no? Private placement of securities. So instead of offering it to the general public, of course, these investment banks or commercial banks or universal banks, they have clients, no? They can offer those securities to their clients, select individuals, or even entities, no? Trading of securities, so simply they can work as broker or dealer, no? So, of course, for a fee, no? They also serve as advisory. They also serve as advisors. And then merchant banking, investment banks use its own money to lend money as a creditor or buy shares as an investor. Okay. Securities finance and prime brokerage service, no? They usually paano ba nagwo-work ang securities finance and prime brokerage service? So ganito, no? Um, it's kind of like a loan, pero instead of other assets being collateralized, ang ginagamit mong collateral is the securities itself. Parang ganun na. Asset management, I've discussed that. And research, no? Of course, investment banks, they have teams, no? Doing research regarding economic condition, no? Other matters impacting your investment. Okay. Then also we have finance companies. So finance companies raise funds through issuing stocks and bonds or selling commercial papers. No? Other participants, of course, we have household sector. Ito na tayo. Ito na yung sa uh, so there's the family, tapos uh, even in the marketplace, there's also individuals and families, including families serving charitable, religious, and non-profit organizations. Of course, there's government. The role is really on the regulation in regulating the financial market and also these financial intermediaries. No? So later on, we'll cover also the different agencies regulating financial intermediaries. No? So we have the Banco Central, Banco the Central Bank of the Philippines or the Bangko Sentral, no? And then we have the Insurance Commission, Board of Investments, no? So we'll cover the function of each of those government agencies later. Of course, we have corporate sector and non-financial corporations, no? So usually naman class, this is just classified into two segments, so financial and non-financial. Residual is non-financial. No? So non-financial corporations issue financial instruments to raise funds for their business requirements and trade financial instruments in money market or capital market as investment in case they have excess funds. Okay, so okay. So we go now to financial regulation and the central bank. No? So the different, like I said, government agencies regulating the financial market and of course, and also the role of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Okay, so financial regulation is defined as the process whereby the designated government authority provides oversight and establish rules for firms in an industry. World Bank sets regulatory measures to address certain risks and social factors like systemic risk. Pag sinabi natin systemic risk, this is the probability of a firm to fail its objective that will result to ripple effect. No? So it won't just impact or won't just have an impact to the particular financial intermediary, but also to the rest of the other institutions, no, surrounding it. Of course, we have consumer protection and efficiency enhancement. No? So when we say efficiency enhancement, this is the dynamism and agility of the policy to adapt in a fast-changing environment. And of course, social objectives. No? Social objectives uh, really it encapsulates the community, no? In the picture. Okay, so market drivers are regulated for reasons like number one, competitiveness, market behavior. So pag market behavior includes full disclosure of information, prohibition on insider trading, no? So paano ba pag insider trading? So sabi natin, insider trading exists when there's information that is not available to all people. So and then you use it for your own benefit, no? So that's insider trading. Then control of new players. Of course, no? So, since this is this well, financial market involves flow of funds, no? I mean, you don't want uh, people getting into play, no, without really controlling them, no? Setting minimum capital requirements, especially in a corporate setup, no, uh, insurance companies, no, they there will be minimum capital requirement, no, to start um, incorporating consistency in terms of the procedures and of also stability, no, so in terms of the operations. So regulators of financial activities, no, so this time class will look into the different agencies of the government regulating the financial activities in the Philippines, no. So we have Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP. It is created under the new Central Bank Act, or Republic Act number 7653, and it is an attached agency of the Department of Finance. Ano ba yung role ng BSP? It acts as a central monetary authority which acts as a corporate body that is responsible concerning money, banking, and credit, no? So uh, the functions of Bangko Sentral includes liquidity management, currency issue, lender of last resort, financial supervision, management of foreign currency reserves, and determination of exchange rate policy. So isa-isay natin yan. In terms of liquidity management, so the BSP formulates and issues monetary policy aimed at influencing money supply in order to maintain price stability. Kasi remember, uh, uh, okay, so the functions of BSP are following. So liquidity management. So BSP formulates and issues monetary policy aimed at influencing money supply in order to maintain price stability. So in fact, money supply will be discussed, no, in the other part of this subject, no. Currency issue. So BSP has the sole responsibility to issue notes, coins representing national currency for the Philippines. Lender of last resort. So basically, BSP acts as the provider of discount, advances, and financial support to financial institution for them to maintain their liquidity. Parang ganito yan, no? So before pa maging bankrupt, say for example, a certain bank, no? BSP can provide them discount or can lend them money basically, no? To support their operations, no? Financial supervision. BSP regularly supervises financial institutions and is empowered to exercise regulatory powers over non-bank institutions conducting quasi-banking functions. Pag sinabi natin quasi-banking functions, so as if they're functioning like a bank. So paano to? Cebuana Lulier. It's a initially it's just a pawn, no? Pawn shop. Pero right now they are also acting like a bank, no? Paano? Meron na silang pera padala, no? So that's why they're now they're now classified as quasi bank and being regulated by Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Management of foreign currency reserves, no? So BSP manages the financial foreign currency requirement of the republic by ensuring sufficient international reserves are made available on time. This preserve the international stability and position of Philippine peso, no? So that's how important um, these foreign currency reserves, no? So it will have an impact to the uh, power of Philippine peso. Determination of exchange rate policy. So BSP sets the policy that will determine the rate of exchange of Philippine peso over different currency. So it subscribes to market-oriented foreign rate policy. Hence, the rates are dependent in the behavior of the market. Okay? So, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is governed by the Monetary Board, no? And Monetary Board has 7 members chaired by the governor of BSP. So I think the governor of BSP right now is Jokno. 1 member from the cabinet and 5 members from the private sector. The governor of BSP acts as the CEO of BSP, no? So, ano-ano ba yung mga role niya? Financial supervision sector, monetary and economic sector, currency management sector, and corporate services group. So, the financial supervision sector, it is mainly responsible for the supervision and regulation of the banks and other financial institutions. Pag naman monetary and economic sector, it aims to conduct formulation of monetary policy. It ensures implementation and assess its effectiveness. While currency management sector, this is responsible in the production, distribution, disposal, and retirement of currencies. No? Kaya nga, they have implemented different guidelines, no? Kasi usually lagi natin napapanood ngayon like recently, no, yung mga nasusunog na pera kasi nilalagay lang sa bahay or inaanay, tapos alam mo yun, bigla nahuhukay na lang. Pwede pa ba 'to? Yun, 'di ba? Si sa KMJS madalas na-feature 'yan. Meron lang silang mga guidelines kung kailan pwede pa, no? Kaya nga especially no pag mga old notes, meron lang specified period na pwede siyang palitan ng bangko. After that, it's considered demoted, no? So BSP has the sole power to issue currency within the territory of the Philippines. Kaya yung I'm not sure if you heard about a certain place in the Philippines where and parang a certain individual no printed her face in a note tapos nagagamit nila as money, no? So that's illegal because it's only the BSP who has the sole power to issue currency within the Philippines. Kaya kung meron kang kakilala na ganyan ay for sure hindi yan I mean it's illegal, so it's a scam. Okay, so insurance commissions mandated by Executive Order number 192 series of 2015 to ensure enforcement of the provisions of the Insurance Code or Republic Act number 10607 to regulate and supervise. Ito, ano yung scope ng insurance commissions, insurance companies, pre-need and health maintenance organization industry. So paano ba pag sinabi natin, well, alam niyo na yung mga insurance, ano? So we have BPI, we have yung mga example lang, no? So sa akin, Sun Life. So Philam Life, no? So yan yung mga example. Pero itong health maintenance organization, ito naman yung mga HMO. It's kind of like insurance policy, pero meron ka lang coverage at meron ka lang limit din for the year, no? So paano to? So example like MaxiCare, ano pa ba? Ethica, Asian Life, no? So ito yung mga mga pangangailangan mo medical na pwede nilang i-cover. Siyempre, dahil nagbabayad ka ng premium, no? So kung corporate benefit to, so the company will pay for your coverage for the year, no? So like in my case, ang HMO namin is Ethica. So right now they are offering online consultation, no? Again, there's also limit, no? So if you say if you have been diagnosed with illness, so meron ka lang limit, no, na pwede mo magamit, no, by using the services of health maintenance organization. So ano ngayon yung role ng insurance commission? So number 1, promulgation and implementation of policies, rules, and regulations. So imagine kung walang insurance commission, how this insurance, pre-need, and HMO organization be regulated. No? Number two, licensing of insurance and reinsurance companies, its intermediaries, mutual benefit associations, trusts for charitable uses. Simply, uh, just like SEC, they give you license to operate. Conducting insurance agents examinations. Ito nga, kaya nga even your friends, no? They're really highly qualified individual to offer insurance policies and other products because they undergo uh, agents examinations, no, being facilitated by the insurance commission. Number four, examination, verification of financial condition, and methods of doing business of entities engaged in insurance, pre-need, and HMO, or simply, parang they serve as auditor, no, to check on whether your company is performing okay. Kasi nga, syempre, no, kung hindi nagpa-perform well yung company, there's a chance na uh, it's not uh, operating in an going concern approach, no, so that will be an issue. Number five, evaluation and preparation of statistical reports, studies, research, annual reports, and position papers relative to yun pa rin, yun yung coverage nila, no. So simply, it's the agency, no, kasi nga with all the information available to them, no, so they can issue statistical reports and studies, no, surrounding the area of remit. Number six, review of premium rates imposed by life and non-life companies, no. So of course, uh, since insurance companies are also being regulated by insurance commission, no, even prior to uh, offering you these types of policies, no, it needs to be pre-approved by the insurance commission. Adjudication of claims and complaints, no, so they also cater to consumer complaints, no. Number eight, review and approval of all life, ito na yung sinasabi ko, no, of all life and non-life policies prior to selling to prospective clients. So they have to, I mean, those policies have to be reviewed prior to being sold, no? Then we have the Philippine Securities and Exchange Commission. It is the national government regulatory agency to administer oversight on the corporate sector, capital market participants, and securities and investment instrument, and promote corporate governance over this, no. Simply, itong SEC, no, they are the regulatory agency uh, before you can incorporate, no. So they have that function, and as well as corporate governance over these corporations, no. Next, we have Board of Investment. It is the lead agency to promote investment in the country and thereby generate local and foreign investment in the country. I remember, no, when President Duterte came to power, ito talagang Board of Investment, they're very active in such a way that they're presenting to different countries, no, just so to get more investment for the Philippines, no. But then pandemic happened, so alam niyo na. So it provides advisory, actualization, and post services to the investors. In fact, one good result of those meetings with the foreign investors at that time is yun nga, mas inaalaw na ngayon yung mga foreign investors, no. There were bills initiated by the Congress to simply, yun nga, mas mapabilis yung pag-entry ng foreign investment, no. And also, yun, yung isa pa yung ease of doing business, no. That's also a result of those meetings, no. So mas pinasimple yung government approval, mas pinasimple yung procedure, uh, naging standard yung approach, no? Kaya nga nung I remember 2016, no? So daming reklamo in terms of bagal daw ng processing. Yun yung mga first few things na na-address, no, by the present administration. Okay, so let's now talk about purchasing power. So purchasing power, it is based on the consumer price index or the weighted average value of the basket of all commodities representing market. No? So there are different commodity groups in CPI. So number one, we have food and non-alcoholic beverages. Ito naman yung mga groupings lang, then alcoholic beverages and tobacco, clothing and footwear, housing, utilities and other fuels, furnishings and maintenance costs, health and transport, communication, recreation and culture, education and restaurant and miscellaneous. Pero ano ba yung use niyan? So ito. So inflation rate, it is the degree of movement of the CPI from a period to another. No? So when we say inflation class, this is the um, increasing in prices, no, of commodities. No? So there's two types of inflation. So number one is the so-called core inflation. Core inflation is used for most of the economic estimates where it excludes in the equation the movement of the commodities or incidents with very volatile movement or outliers. No? So ano yung mga usual outliers natin? So pag halimbawa meron mga civil disobedience, no? If you remember during the time of EDSA 2, no? EDSA 2, nung time ni Estrada, no? So there's um, uh, well, the inflation rate at that time, no, really went up, no? And to my view, that's an outlier, no? Because hindi naman yun palagi nangyayari, no? So and then there's headline inflation on the it captures the changes of the cost of living based on the movement of the basket of commodities as a whole, no? So like for example right now, no, there's parang kung nakikita niyo sa news, no, parang every week meron tayong increase in prices of fuel, no? Eh syempre, pag tumaas ang fuel, ang ergo tataas ang transportation cost, pag tumaas ang transportation cost, the delivery of the products from sabihin natin kung halimbawa gulay yan from Baguio going to Manila, different places in North Luzon, no? So we can expect the prices to go up, no? So that's how critical um, these CPIs are, no? Okay, so to calculate inflation rate, it's CPI current over CPI last period minus 1 multiplied by 100%, no, para makuha natin yung inflation rate. At least at this stage, no, compared to previous month, I think the inflation rate in the Philippines was managed at the moment, no. Okay, so we go now to payment systems. So payment system is a set of interrelated processes of settlement of goods or services rendered in exchange for a set of instruments that will undergo banking or non-banking procedures. Now, a payment system or an effective payment system must have standard methods of transmitting payment messages, agreed means of settlement, and common rules and procedures. It must be safe and real-time. It must have an effective risk management. It facilitates financial market transactions. Oops. Sige. Pag-usapan muna natin further ang payment system. No? So imagine placing your money in a bank. No? Siyempre, we use their facilities to do some payments. So gaya ng example ko kanina, if you want to pay for your utility bills, no, you can use their platforms, you can use their facilities in order to uh, to to pay these merchants, no. So for example, Meralco, no, um, in order for the Meralco system to adapt with the system of sabihin na natin gamit ko BPI, they must have common rules and procedures, no? Kasi at ang pinakaimportante dito dapat real time, no? So imagine uh, wala na yung fund sa BPI, nagbayad ka ng Meralco, and yet Meralco system doesn't reflect your payment yet, no. So there will be problems. So that's why sinasabi natin is uh, for a payment system or for a payment platform to be effective, it must have a common rules and procedures. At dapat the procedures are marry with each other, no? So dapat nag-uusap 'yan. Dapat there's also consistency, and ang pinakaimportante, it must be safe and real time, no? Okay. So I think we've covered the financial intermediaries and also different government agencies regulating the financial market. That would be all for today. If you have any questions, you can reach me through my email address, or you can course it through your class videos. So thank you for attending my class, and stay safe, and I'll see you again next session. Thank you. Goodbye.
This has been your instructor, Mark Gibson. Thank you for learning with us. See you in our next discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya!